Hello, my name is Ryan, and this is a video essay for my rabbinic literature and chemistry class about the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory Fire and who is liable for the damages it caused. The Triangle Shirtwaist Factory Fire was a devastating event that occurred on March 25, 1911, and would result in the deaths of over 100 young workers due to negligence of the company owners. The fire at the factory, owned by Isaac Harris and Max Blank, broke out late in the workday. Around 600 people were still at work or getting ready to leave when the fire on the 9th floor began to burn away at the walls and the clothing all around them. 146 people would die in this fire, most of which were Italian and Jewish teenage girls, and most of whom died from jumping out the window or asphyxiated from the smoke. The Bava Kama is a set of Talmudic texts explaining the laws around nezikin, or damages, and explain liability rules for each incident. These liabilities can extend beyond the Talmudic periods and be applied to modern scenarios. According to the Bava Kama, the owners of the factory, Isaac Harris and Max Blank, are liable for the fire, as they knew the building violated safety regulations and they failed to inform workers of safety measures that would have saved their lives. Harris and Blank violated many safety rules and neglected to inform the workers of staircases that could have been used, and according to Bava Kama 5.5, they are liable. The building itself had 2 sets of staircases, 4 elevators, and 1 fire escape. However, one of the staircases was locked from the outside as to, quote, prevent from stealing, but it is hypothesized that the staircase was locked from the outside as to keep workers from escaping, as many of them were underage and overworked. At the time of the fire, 3 out of 4 elevators were out of order, and this elevator itself could only carry 12 people at a time. Finally, the fire escape was extremely old and rusty, and the fire department's ladder only reached the 7th floor. And there were no sprinklers! The first Bava Kama quote addresses how, because of the building being communal and Harris and Blank having control of the top 3 floors of the Ash building, they would be liable. The quote itself is pretty lengthy, but the key bit of it is, quote, one who digs the pit in the public domain and an ox or donkey fell into it and died, he is liable. This is referring to pits and donkeys, but it can also be applied to the scenario. This relates back to my damage because Harris and Blank co-owned the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory Fire, or at least the top 3 floors where the fire broke out. So in Mishnaic terms, they dug the pit. Because people got injured from the building in which they owned, they are liable for any injuries or deaths that were caused from their pit. Despite the fact that they didn't own the entire building, according to this Mishnah, they are still liable. Liability can also be chalked up to Harris and Blank according to Bava Kama, as seen in 6.5 and 6.1. In 6.5, we were taught that if you light a sack of straw on fire and things are still inside the straw, you have to pay back for what those things would have been worth. And if a building is set on fire, he must pay back everything in the building. Quote, one who set fire to a stack of sheaves, and in it there were utensils, and these caught fire. Rabbi Yehuda says, he must pay back for what was in it. But the sages say, he pays back only for a stack of wheat or barley. And the sages agree that with Rabbi Yehuda that if one sets to fire a large building, he must pay back for everything in it. For such is customary for people to leave their items in their houses. We do not know who directly started the fire, but what we do know is that the doors to the factory were closed from the outside and there was a singular fire escape that didn't lead all the way to the floor. And finally, we know that Harris and Blank knew about this and deliberately did not inform their employees. Therefore, they are still liable. Finally, in Bava Kama 6.1, we are shown the clearest example of liability. Check it out. A man who brings a sheep into a corral and locks the door in front of them properly, but the sheep escapes and causes damage, he is exempt. If he did not lock the door in front of them properly and it went out and caused damage, he is liable. If the wall broke down at night or thieves broke it and the sheep escaped and caused damage, he is exempt. If the thieves took them out, then the thieves are liable. This Mishnah states that if proper precautions aren't taken, the owner is at fault for damages caused. If the sheep is afire and the owners are Harris and Blank, the Mishnah shows plainly why they are liable for the damages caused at the factory fire and for the deaths and lives that were taken. A trial was set into motion later in 1911, where Harris and Blank were tried for manslaughter. However, the grand jury failed to convict them. They would get off paying just $75 to each family, not near enough what it would have been worth for their lives. The judgment they would receive from God will ultimately be worse than what they would have received on earth, but according to the biblical sources we do have, they are guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. This devastating incident proves as an example of how easy it is for a deadly accident like this to happen. Hopefully, this inspires you to at least blow out your candles when you leave the room. Thank you.